Joining us is our very good friend, Jim Clubberlang, Canada's foremost NFL expert. On the way on this Football Friday, Jim Barker from the CFL on TSN, and two very special guests, three-time Grey Cup champion and former Harvard defensive lineman Tim Fleiser, and Justin Cooper. We'll tell you more why. 13 years defensive lineman with the Edmonton Eskimos, Red Deer product, and a very special interview coming up in hour two. Clubber, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Rod. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm going to jump. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan, and we'll jump right down to business. We'll get right down to business because there's things. We got Jim for a good time, but not a long time. We're going to open with Thursday Night Football on this Football Friday of our quick six show topics. Comeback wins are becoming the norm for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Deontay Johnson had a 3-yard touchdown catch with about 4 minutes to go as the Pittsburgh Steelers beat Tennessee 20-16 in the NFL's Thursday night game. That was the kickoff to Week 9. 4 of the Steelers' 5 wins have come in games they trailed entering the fourth quarter. Jim, the games are really starting to mean something, aren't they? This one had its own meaning, but there's some awesome games here in Week 9.
And let's delve deeper into this game. I watched quite a bit of it, and this was, for most of the season, Pittsburgh Steelers fans have been chanting, Fire Canada, for their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, who they think is ruining the Steelers' offense. So for the first time since ever, like in college and pro, he's always called games from the press box, the coach's box. He went down to the sideline, and it really had an immediate impact on the flow and tempo of the Steelers' offense. They were balancing the run and the passing game well. Kenny Pickett played an efficient game, no interceptions. That was Deontay Johnson's first touchdown reception of the year. The Steelers' defense with T.J. Watt is still as frightening as ever. 4 sacks, 1 interception. And for all of their dysfunction, all the fire Matt Canada, the injuries and everything, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are 5-3. And this is one of the reasons that I don't understand why he doesn't get the credit he does as a coach. People think he's a motivator, he's this and that. He also knows football. I mean, look how long he's been in Pittsburgh. And with this team to be 5-3 at this point in the season, I think we need to start giving Mike Tomlin a lot of credit for holding the team together, for keeping Matt Canada inspired with all. I mean, how easy can it be to go to work when 60,000 people are chanting "Fire your name"? But he's held that team together, the coaching staff, the players, and they're 5-3, and now they have a long break after winning this Thursday night game. So big credit to the Steelers. That was pretty impressive win last night, an important win for them.
Yeah, by the way, there's a lot of CFL fans that have come here to talk today. We'll be getting to that next segment when Jim Barker joins us, including the poll question today for Key Auto Group. You don't need to put the graphic up, fellas, but do you like the CFL moving their games from Sunday to Saturday? The division semifinals will go Saturday. You can vote on the poll now. Secondary poll is who should the Rough Riders hire as their head coach, but that's for later on because there's things I want to get to with Jim. Point 2, several one-goal losses for Canadian teams around the NHL Thursday night. Ottawa dropped a 3-2 decision to Los Angeles. Boston got by the Leafs 3-2 in a shootout. Dallas held off Edmonton 4-3. And Montreal lost in Arizona 3-2. In Vegas, the Golden Knights bombed the Jets 5-2, and the blowout, that everybody's talking about, San Jose walloped 10-1 by Vancouver. Yes, Vancouver looks for real. But Jim, you're the Leaf guy. And I didn't watch the Leafs game, but I heard it on NHL radio that something happened. So how much are they talking about what happened? And you tell me Marchand's behind it last night at TD Garden.
Yeah, it's a classic play with a defenseman going into the corner and a forward trying to chase him down. And it's the classic battle for all hockey, except Marchand sort of hooks Timothy Liljegren's foot with a skate, and it's a quasi-slew foot. Now, Marchand is an experienced and talented enough player to try to mask a slew foot. But if you look at the stills and look at the slow-mo, he slew-footed Liljegren into the boards. Liljegren is in no man's land at that point when he loses his edge, goes into the boards hard, and Sheldon Keefe right after the game said, hey, he's going to be out for a long time. Lower body injury, and it's going to be a while till he's healthy enough to play. But this has been Brad Marchand since he started playing on a regular basis in the NHL. He lives rent-free in the heads of the Maple Leafs. And we were looking at this off the air. Think about this. Brad Marchand is closing in at 1,000 games. He has almost 900 points. He's going to have well over 1,000 points before all is said and done in his career. and he's one of the more effective agitator pests in the history of the league, and he can play. And he's so effective against the Leafs. He just, every time he plays the Leafs, he does something to get under their skin, and he thrives off of it. And look, last night, Wes McCauley was watching the play, decides not to call a penalty. Everyone in Toronto is screaming for a suspension. I doubt it's going to happen because there was no penalty call in the play. But that's Brad Marchand in a nutshell. But I think what was more fascinating to me was Brad Treliving in the offseason moved heaven and earth to get Ryan Reeves and Tyler Bertuzzi for these kind of games. When a Brad Marchand does that to Timothy Liljegren and nothing happened. There was no response. I mean, there was a lot of chirping from the bench, but if Brad Marchand just kind of looked at him and shrugged his shoulders and laughed, he's been getting yelled at and people swearing at him since he started playing hockey at 9 years old.
Well, I said to Matthew Barnaby, I can't remember if it was a banquet we did together or on this show, I said, what do you think about Brad Marchand? I expected him to say, I hated him. And Barney said, he's everything I wished I could have been. A pest, but can also play. As you said, he'll be a 1,000-point guy by the time all is said and done. And by the way, the same thing happened here in Sunrise. Nylander, if you watched that game, Leafs at Panthers, Nylander got run on a dirty shot. Nothing was done then.
Yes.
So at some point, these guys better wake up. As I said, a good time, not a long time with Jim Lang. People forget of the lengthy list of things on Jim's star-studded resume. One is the voice of the Argos. That's where we met. What was that, 1 year,
Yes.
2 years? How long did you do that, Jimbo?
1 year, because the owner at the time, Sherwood Schwartz, ran out of money for year 2. So they had no radio for the second year.
Oh, gotcha.
True.
Okay. So the reason I bring it up is point 3. No surprise here. Winnipeg's Zach Collaros and Toronto's Chad Kelly are the quarterback selections for the CFL's divisional all-star teams. Collaros is one of 11 Blue Bombers on the West squad. Kelly is one of 14 Argos on the East team. So that's the news out of Thursday at the CFL. That's what I love about daytime sports talk. We got breaking news today. Out of Hamilton, the Tiger Cats have listed Matthew Schultz as their starting quarterback for the Eastern semifinal at Montreal Saturday. Not Bo Levi Mitchell. Matthew Schultz is going to start. At the very least, I guess they feel that if he falters, they can go with Bo. Maybe he's nicked. I don't know, but this is a fairly stunning development, I would suggest, for that game. So the CFL, more than anything, broader question is the poll question today for Key Auto Group. And by the way, at the Key Auto Group, you can buy with confidence knowing that they provide reports on all vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. I threw Clark a curve, and I apologize for that, Clark. Our YouTube audience is voting on the poll that they think that it is. Who should be the Rough Riders coach? Paul Lapalisse is leading that. What I've put on Twitter, and I'm putting out on the air, is do you like the CFL moving the playoff games from Sunday to Saturday? I just looked on Twitter, Jim, over 80% of respondents saying yes, they like it. I certainly do. How do you feel about it?
I thought this was something the CFL should have done years ago. I mean, the Saturdays, basically Saturday afternoons are wide open in Canadian sports television. You've got your 1 o'clock game, your 4 o'clock game, and then the Saturday night hockey rotation doesn't begin to 7 p.m. So for the 6 p.m. highlight show in the weekend, you've got the CFL to yourself. You've got your reporters. I mean, on Sunday, fair or not, you were swamped with NBA games, Major League Baseball, the full slate of NFL games. And you can't give it as much airtime and as much time and effort as you would like. To me, moving it to the Saturday is such a smart move. I'm so glad they did this. I remember years ago, this would have been in 2003, the Argos were forced to have a home playoff game against Hamilton on a Friday night because of a Wiggles concert, if you remember that. And they had 35,000. And it was one of the best atmospheres for an Argos game I can ever remember at Rogers Center. And it was a Friday night. And there was no other sports competing against them. And Michael Shea afterwards in the locker room, he was emotional, saying that they've worked so hard to create an atmosphere and a night like that. And they got it. And they played their butts off and they won the game. So I like this whole Saturday afternoon divisional playoff thing. I hope it stays because they should have done that a long time ago, Rod.
They did it 1 year in 2008. The ratings plummeted, and they're like, ooh, we got to go back. And I'm like, it's going to take more than 1 year, guys.
Yes.
Jim Barker
Yeah.
is next, and we'll get way more into the CFL talk next segment because Jim, NFL's his thing. So point 4, a stacked lineup of games Sunday could determine plenty come January in the National Football League. The action begins at 9:30 a.m. Eastern with a marquee matchup between the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs, who are 6-2, and the similarly 6-2 Miami Dolphins in the NFL's first game ever in Frankfurt, Germany. It's a potential AFC Championship game preview. The conference, though, is wide open as the Chiefs, Dolphins, Ravens, and Jaguars each have the same record here at the season's midway point. The Bills and Bengals are also in the mix. They meet Sunday night in Cincy. So the stakes are high in that playoff rematch. I told you earlier I listened to NHL radio, Jim, in the morning. Reason being, I get tired of the Dolphins talk down here. It's not anybody's fault. It's not the Dolphins talk, but my God, can you? And they finally have a good team. I can't imagine what it was like when they were losing. What's the game of the week in the NFL for you?
I think we should also point out Dallas, Philadelphia, Cowboys and Eagles in Philadelphia. That's going to be a huge game in the NFC. Because, I mean, Dallas, to me, has been impressive. The Eagles as well. And these two teams could be the deciding teams in the NFC for the Super Bowl. The Bengals, watch out for the Bengals because Joe Burrow is finally 100% healthy. He wasn't healthy in September. He was still recovering from lingering health issues from training camp. But, Rod, let me tell you something. Beware the Bengals. And you know that Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, are more than a little concerned about going into Cincinnati Sunday night to play a Bengals team, which is on a real roll right now, and they know Joe Burrow's feeling it. I'm fascinated by the some of the words coming out of the Chiefs Miami game in Germany because they've been in Germany for a couple of days meeting with the media, and Mike McDaniel's trying to play it down like this is not, a preview, it's another game. But I don't think Tyreek Hill views it as another game. I think he's determined to put on a real show. Now, if you look at his numbers this year, how much more of a show could Tyreek Hill put on than he is so far this season? So if I'm Kansas City, if I'm the Chiefs coaching staff, they have got to figure out a way to never allow single coverage on Tyreek Hill. Their secondary is not that good to put one guy in Tyreek Hill and expect to cover him. It's not possible. Teams have tried it all year. They can't do it. So they're going to have to double up against Tyreek Hill to have any hope of stopping him because he seems, by everything he's been saying to the media, that he's determined to show the Chiefs what they missed and not having him there in the red and white.
Well, I don't mind spending a minute on this. Sunday, I was at the Dolphins game, and I sat with Gil Scott and Craig Jeffrey, and it was awesome. And Tyreek Hill hadn't done a thing all game. As a matter of fact, I had to look to see if he was playing. And the very next play, 42-yard touchdown, gone. And I believe our friend Craig had just said to me, so you'll take a CFL game over the NFL if you have a choice? And I'm like, yeah, I just think the game's more wide open. It moves faster, doesn't have these boring TV timeouts and blah, blah, blah. And then, and I'm like, well, you don't have that. What league does? Tyreek Hill is on another planet. And to land the plane, he's not in KC simply because they couldn't afford him. It's not a character issue, is what I've been told.
Yeah, but he still, for Tyreek Hill, he still feels like they should have paid him. I mean, that's what his feeling is, and that's what he's saying. But what he's doing this year as a receiver and his speed, and what Mike McDaniel's doing as an offensive coach, an offensive mind, is utilizing all those players to their full capability. The one thing the Dolphins have over any other offense is almost seemingly unlimited speed with Hill and Waddle and Mostert and all of their players. They can just get down the field. And now you had alluded to the CFL. A lot of coaches like McDaniel and other coaches around the NFL have spent a lot of time studying the motion, the pre-snap motion of the CFL, and are trying to incorporate it within the rule structures of the NFL. Of course, you can't run up to the line of scrimmage because that's you can't do that in NFL rules. But the constant back and forth, there is more of that than ever before. And it's always the thought that if you can get a linebacker or a safety going the wrong way and create a mismatch and create a one-on-one with a Tyreek Hill or a Justin Jefferson in Minnesota or some of the special players that you have around the NFL and CeeDee Lamb in Dallas, that's an advantage for your offense. And so this is the funny thing about how Canadians view the CFL. NFL coaches have been deeply studying the CFL, their offenses and motion, and trying to incorporate it into their offenses. And that's definitely something Miami's done and other teams around the league are doing right now because some of these defenses are so good in the NFL now, Rod. You have to see what can we do to create an advantage. Maybe with unlimited motion, maybe with a ton of motion, we create confusion and somehow, some way, get our best players in a one-on-one position and have a chance for them to go down the field and make a big play. Because if you just go 11 and 11, a lot of these defenses are just going to lock you up.
Yeah, well, as Mark Trestman said, it's a beautiful game, whoever designed it. If you can believe, Jim, we're right out of time. Thanks for stepping in, man. It was awesome. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, take care, Rod. All the best. You're the best.